defend the stance of his good friend. Thought they were best friends, LeBron.
No, I mean, there's nothing to defend. I mean, LeBron has his opinion. Chris Paul has his opinion. And Chris Paul is absolutely right. Just like when they went to the bubble. Everybody was not happy about going to the bubble. And some people opted out, and some people begrudgingly went to the bubble. And so, no, I don't have a problem with it. And LeBron James, even though he voiced his displeasure, should not weigh that of 399 other players, of the 400 members that's in the Players Association. So I don't have a problem with LeBron saying what he said. I don't have a problem with Chris Paul saying what he said. LeBron understands that the NBA is a company, and the company's going to do what's in the best interest of the company. LeBron James says, okay, I want to do what's in the best interest of the company, but I also got to do what's in the best interest of my company, which is LeBron James. Now, Chris Paul has done a great job with the Players Association. I got no quarrels with Chris Paul. But also, you have to also look at this a little deeper. Chris Paul is still playing. Let's not lose sight of that. Chris Paul is still playing. So there's nothing to complain about, because what the injuries that befell a lot of these other teams did not hit the Suns. So I don't have a problem with Chris Paul said, look, we had conversation. Everybody had a conversation. You could have chimed in with your opinion. Not to say that LeBron didn't. And all LeBron said is that, look, what I was telling you about is that when you play 10 fewer games and you play it in 2 fewer months, you subject yourself, you open yourself up to some injuries that you probably wouldn't have gotten, because you got to turn this thing around, Skip, because guess what? You got to send 12 NBA players to the Olympics. Well, the guys just showed up. Now, you got a couple of guys that's on the Olympic team that's not playing, that's not practicing in Vegas today. So for me, Skip, I don't have a problem with what LeBron said. I don't have a problem with what Chris Paul said. There's just a disagreement. My opinion is, I wish we had taken an extra month, and then maybe we wouldn't have seen the injuries that we saw. Chris Paul said, look, the league had lost money. We were about to lose money, and I just felt it was in the best interest. And when we sat down with the executive committee and when we weighed the options, and plus, Skip, you have to understand, there's only one LeBron James. LeBron James makes more money on and off the court than any other NBA player. So he gets a luxury that if they didn't play, guess what? His sponsors are still going to pay him. 3/4 of the league don't have a sponsor. They don't have a shoe deal. They don't have a Mountain Dew thing now, Skip. They don't have Beats. So I don't have a problem with either guy, what they said. And just because we're friends, that's what a friend should do. Don't tell me everything I need to hear. Tell me what I need to know.
Okay. So I thought one of your last points was the point, which is Chris Paul is also dealing in his own self-interest right now because he's the last man standing, right?
Yes.
He's made it to his first finals in 16 seasons, and it's because his team is the healthiest.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't the healthiest, but he managed to survive it.
Right.
Had a busted shoulder for a while against the Lakers, and then he got COVID. I don't think he had any symptoms, but he missed first couple of games of the Clippers.
He did.
Then he came back, and now he says he's dealing with some torn ligament in his shooting wrist. Not sure how bad it was. It sure didn't hurt him shooting the basketball down the stretch against the Clippers in Game 6.
I guess you have some other guys trying to hurt their wrist if you go shoot like that.
I guess so. But the point is, his team is pretty healthy as it goes right now. And I also think Chris would know, having been the president of the Players Association for so many years, LeBron was his second in command from 15 to 19.
Correct.
Okay, but I also think Chris has been doing this long enough to know that a lot of this is freakish injury. It's hard to explain it. It's hard to quantify what's happened. Have the playoffs been decimated? Yeah. But what happened last year in the bubble? They got almost 5 months off to refresh and refurbish their bodies going into the bubble. So LeBron should have been at his peak performance going into the bubble because you can't ask for better than that, because they just played a few walk-up, warm-up games.
But that's my point.
Playoffs.
But what they do? They didn't take 5 months off and says, okay, where are you seated? We're going to start playing right away, did they? No, they gave them an opportunity to ramp it up.
Just a few. They just had like, what?
8 games.
Yeah, okay, 8 games. But I'm talking about the starters might have played 5 of those games, right?
Yeah.
So they ramped it up, and here they went. And then they get to the NBA Finals in the bubble. And in Game 1, the Heat are without their leading playoff scorer, Dragic, hurt. And then Bam gets hurt, busts his shoulder up in game one, and he's out or ineffective the rest of the way.
Right.
Well, how do you explain that? They had 5 months off like everybody else.
But here's the thing,
it's just freakish.
If guys got hurt in the finals, that's one thing. But why haven't we seen this kind of freaky injuries in NBA history before? If it's just freaky.
Okay, how do you? Okay, let's look down the list. LeBron, he's just finished year 18. We don't think he's going to get hurt, so I'm sure he's going to get hurt. So I got to chalk that up to age and attrition.
Okay.
Father time. It's going to happen. He had the groin a couple of years back, and now he's got the ankle, and it persisted.
Well, KD not that old, so what happened to his hamstring? James Harden not that old, what happened to his hamstring?
What do you mean KD?
KD hurt his hamstring, missed 29 games, remember?
Okay, all right, but then he came back strong for the playoffs. But Kyrie got hurt, turned his ankle over.
Yes.
He's been hurt his whole career, on and off. Harden's had trouble with that hamstring his whole career. If you look back to his Houston days, he would go stretches with hamstring issues.
But he ain't missed no time. Not like this.
Well, he has. And if you look back at Houston, he had injuries, right and left, mainly hamstrings. And then Embiid, he's got a cartilage tear.
Oh, we're talking about him.
Okay, well, he's always hurt. And the Giannis one, is it kind of freakish? He just awkwardly came down? I don't know. Is that from wear and tear? I have no idea.
If that's the case, Skip, so why not just continue this? Why not? Because you got the whole thing to yourself. There's nothing else going on. So why not just play it like this? Why not just play your condensed season in this small amount of time and just move forward? Because you got the summer to yourself. You're not worried about football. You're not worried about anything. So you got it to yourself. So why not continue to play like this? If it's no problem, if everything is okay, why not continue on this schedule?
How do you mean? And once this ends, when are you going to start the season?
No, I'm just saying, just start the season like you normally would. So what you do, you start in December and you be done in May.
Done in May?
Yeah, just like you did last year. So if there's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing wrong. These injuries are just freakish. Skip, you got everything to yourself. Okay. There's no football. You don't have to worry about football. You see, if you start in October, you got to worry about football. You ain't got to worry about football.
You get 3 months.
You get 3 months free and clear.
When did they start this year? It was around
They started Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
you
just
still got to worry about football. You got to fight through the whole NFL playoffs.
But then guess what? Then the playoffs are over in February, and then you get March, April, May, June, all to yourself.
Okay. Well, but they'll go back to the way they were.
Why?
Well, what do you mean, why? This is all COVID caused.
No, but I'm saying if there is nothing wrong with the scheduling, if playing every other day is not an issue, why wouldn't you continue to play every other day?
Okay, so help me out. Trae Young's injury. He weirdly steps completely back behind himself.
Yeah, that's freaky.
Okay, isn't that just freaky?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just bad luck. So I think back to 1989. I'm in Detroit for Game 1 of the Finals. Magic and Byron Scott pull their hamstring. They're prohibitive favorites over the bad boy Pistons. I'm sitting courtside, and the bottom falls out of the series because they both pulled their hamstring.
That had more to do with all those finals accumulating over the years.
Well, did it? I don't even know how you can quantify that. And then how many finals have we seen decided involving LeBron? So was it were they pushing too hard in 2015 when he lost, obviously, Kevin Love late in the year?
Well, remember Kevin Love got freaky with, Olynyk. Tweaked his shoulder, pulled his shoulder out, and Kyrie was dealing with that knee injury the whole year.
Okay, was that freakish on Kevin Love's part? Yeah. And then Kyrie just fractures his kneecap in the overtime of Game 1.
Right.
Well, it happened then. How do you stop it then? And then what about, how did Kawhi break through and win his ring in Toronto? There's no Steph, no Clay and KD. And you know what happened?
Yep.
And you said chalk it up to injury.
Right.
Well, they just seem to be happening on a regular basis. My opinion of this whole league is the athletes are getting so great. They're so much bigger, stronger, and faster than before.
Of course.
That the physicality of the playoffs is injurious. In fact, I can make a case this game is more dangerous to play than your game is.
No, it
well, I don't know. I don't know. When I start looking at what's happening.
They've taken a lot of physicality out, but basketball will never be tougher than football.
Well, I'm just saying that they play at such high rates of speed and from such heights.
I'm gonna need the guys. I'm gonna start needing the guys to look like Myles Garrett on the basketball court, collide into people. You see Myles Garrett, you see Aaron Donald, you see guys getting 300 pounds and running 4.6.
Okay, and they have shoulder pads and helmets?
Yeah,
No, they don't.
That little stuff, that's a hard hat skill.
Okay.
When you run into somebody at that speed.
Okay, well, something's going on here where they're just dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just not a good, I mean, and selfishly, Skip, I wanted to see Kyrie.